Got you.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to be curious to see how this goes. I think that I think both of these teams have already been really tested so far in their series today. With GSC A team having that really odd series earlier against Aussie, and then they also I think they played starters well too, and then Justice coming off their SR series. Both of these teams are pretty warmed up, so it'll be interesting to see how these teams face off head to head. And notoriously, they're both GSC teams, so it's going to be very the head-to-head rivalry, when you come from inside of the two groups. Should be interesting to see which team
Oh
comes on
yeah,
top.
most definitely. I mean, imagine what's going on now in like their guild chatting across Real ID. I mean, these are all great friends, bear that in mind. Being
Yeah.
like fellow guild members, long-term friends. This is actually your team that's playing as well right now. And unfortunately, you've been benched. Sorry
I
to
was
hear that,
benched,
bro.
dude. They're just like, you know what? Take to the stand and spread the word of Justice in the A team, bro. And I'm like, all right, I'll step up to the plate. You know what? I got your back, squad. So no worries, dude. I'm right where I'm happy being
Okay,
here.
well, this is an interesting thing that I want to ask. Who do you think is going to take this series, the A team or the Justice team?
I think that let's see how this first mid fight goes. If GSC Justice gets ahead in this first mid fight, I think they're going to snowball cap.
Yeah,
And it looks like right now they're getting a lot of damage in here. Priest rolling in, trying to get some pressure onto their front line, maybe looking to swap onto Gobnobber. A charge coming in from Yindy, trying to get some pressure onto Kunz. Kunz going in back into his team, just trying to establish a front line right now. And the Mage Shaman blinking up here for CCs, getting Sheeps onto the Shaman, getting a Trinket out there. A lot of CC pressure coming out from Justice right now. No kills have been landed yet, though, in this mid fight.
Yeah, that's true. But like, look how deep the Warrior is from GSC Justice, just tossing out them Rends on like the whole back and midline there, and he's not even being punished for it. Look at him sat right on there, and Eclipse's Crusader procs are coming out everywhere. But if you just take a look, GSC Justice taking a bunch of damage, and the Resto Shaman has gone down there on GSC Justice. Wow, this is really, really unexpected. I was kind of expecting the GSC Justice to take this first fight, and the Brewmaster has gone down to follow the charge coming out though onto the Warrior front line from Justice, and he's taking a significant amount of damage. This is a potential wipe coming out here, and I think that's the way that it's looking. I'm so surprised to see the A team taking over the Justice team in the initial fight. Wow. What have you got to say about that, HB?
I think that it really comes down to I don't think Justice got quite the jump that they wanted playing with the Mage in midfield. Usually when you run a Mage in midfield, you want to be like a little bit more aggressive and have an aggressive look. And they didn't really get that initial like pressure. I would say they didn't get an initial kill. So the longer that fight goes, it's not as great for GSC Justice. So right now, Prail going in the back of the team fight right now. But you can see right now that Justice isn't really in any harm of getting capped on. They've got their FC in the back with their Hunter kind of chilling at the Alliance ramp right now. And it looks like the Hunter is looking at Berserkers there. It's not there. And Marb and Zale and Ashler are actually going to go back to contest this, at least force him up the ramp, get some positioning for now. Look for GSC Justice to maybe try to push out a mid here with having a numbers advantage.
Yeah, they're probably going to be able to take the mid fight, but Gobnob is taking a significant amount of damage, though. Yindy's taking a lot of damage there, though. Catching that shield and getting top straight back off Quins as well. Not really getting dispelled that much up on that front line, I have noticed at this point. So they're going to get forced out of the graveyard because they're not going to be able to hold that fort. Gobnob is taking loads of damage right now, sitting below 50%, struggling to get picked back up. The full poly coming out into Living Force, catches that dispel there by Unplayable really well. Played the charge coming out to Unplayable, and he does go down. This is where Justice makes that push out of the graveyard to try and score a kill onto the EFC. Take a look over at the ramp side. Ashler taking so much damage there, and the FC for GSC A team is desperately trying to keep him alive there, going off at the Alliance ramp there. And as you can see, the FC for GSC Justice and the One Hunter is sitting back in the base now, and it looks like the FC Paul Boomy is going to head out back down tunnel here. He's going to grab the speed boots and come out down tunnel to join his team at the back. I was half expecting to go up to roof there at that point. But let's take a look at the position in mid. Yeah, you can see there. Justice are actually pushing up far enough for him to be able to come out a tunnel there safely. Really, really well played there by him. But look, that's it. Daniela down as well. Yindigo goes down there. Now Living Force is probably going to be the next target to go down, and he does drop. So Justice have found their feet in this game, and it looks like that they are going to make some absolute pressure in the next couple of minutes.
I think one thing that's been really beneficial for GSC Justice so far in this tournament, and not only in this game but in the tournament, is the patience of their FC. Boomy's done a great job Really just winding out the play, trying to draw out as many people as he could there from A team, forcing the 200s and the resto Druid FC to come back. And then they eventually got a kill, still played it patient, brought him into the base, and then eventually was able to meet his team. And you can see right now, they get a little bit of a chain wipe. Kunz coming off here, trying to get grouped with his team. It looks like Justice is going to go around on the top side and force A team to commit out of the GUI, which they do right now. Prail getting a lot of distance so that they can't dive on him, and he's in a pretty good situation as Stacks hit just now, but he's quite safe in the back.
Yeah, he's pretty safe in the back right now. They're just chilling around that alliance. Zerko, but the fight is just about to kick off here. Quinn's going in deep, throwing out them kegs there, managing to get some kegs onto the priest there. He does catch him out with that spectral guys, but he's not going to be able to connect at that point. He's maybe going to get a connection here. The priest called Shaman Goblin leaps away from Quinn's there, and the roll comes out. He almost goes down, dropping below 20% there. Good job he rolled there, or he could have got caught by an execute at that point. Zale and Eclipse is taking tons of damage right here, but as you can see, Living Force throwing out them penalties, managing to stabilize. Zale is just taking so much damage. His health is spiky from 20 to 100% constantly. The swap coming out over to Ashler, and Quinn's in a lot of trouble. The poly coming out. Maybe that health tick actually kept him alive there at 11%. Maybe that was a really bad poly. I do not know. The half poly coming out to Daniela there as well. And it looks like this fight has managed to stabilize ever so slightly.
Yeah, it looks like from how things are kind of looking in this pace of the game so far, it seems that the mage on GSC Justice is trying to play a little bit more utility-based, getting a lot of sheeps in there. And I feel like on mages, there's either two different play styles. You play kind of utility-based or you play damage-based. And mage single-target damage is a lot of pressure, and we'll be seeing if he adjusts his playstyle over the game. But so far, it looks like they're lacking a little bit of damage, and we'll see if they can end up getting some trinkets off of it. Right now, A-Team kind of pushing in with the 3 healers. They're getting them very grouped up right now. Both priests on Justice stacked on top of each other, just barely able to hold on to the midfield fight. The Shaman BM getting picked off on the side by Yindi. A thunderclap going into him, just trying to stay alive in this team fight, but he's getting caught in a bad spot here. They're just doing the best they can to hold everybody up right now. Boomy, the FC for GSC Justice, just getting as far back as possible. He's not going to be able to go for the tunnel. Otherwise, the Hunters will be able to break off here. And Prail just healing his team in the back of the mid-fight right now.
But do you know that it's the Quinns has gone down there, so that might change the tables at this point, and Team GSC Justice might be able to make the counter push. You can see the A-Team are falling back now, but they've left Indigo so deep into the team, maybe a swap can come out, he could go down. The charge stun coming out there, and they're keeping him rooted and snared really far, but he does charge up onto the Hunter called ESC, and he managed to get a kill there on his own. Wow, he was surrounded by his healers and didn't even get tops there. That's really, really surprising, and he managed to survive at this point. Really well played there by Indigo. That was fantastic position and a good swap onto that Hunter right there. But the fight is not over now. As you can see, Quinn's back in the fight, throwing out them kegs on the whole front line. He's looking to snare the back line now of GSC Justice. Ashler is going into the team with a big silence there, catching that on the mage and the priest, both called Shaman, and the poly is getting swapped out over to Ashler there. Hunter, the boom key called Hunter's taking a significant amount of damage, and it looks like the whole team of GSC Justice are just rotting right now. Maybe, I think HB, they might need to consider this 4 healer composition going up against GSC 18. Maybe they underestimated the amount of coordination output damage that this team could put out.
It seems like right now, one of the biggest difference to me in these mid fights is that they're having trouble getting pressure in terms of damage, and I think for them to be able to make an adjustment to swap here is they're either going to have to be very aggressive with CC on the mage or get a little extra damage pushed in. It looks like if they can get their coordination a little bit better, they do have the more damage available to them in midfield. So they do pass the flag up to the Shaman and GY here. He should be okay for the moment. He's going to the back of GY trying to avoid some charges up, but it will take an adjustment. I feel like Justice is in a decent spot right now. Unfortunately, you know, like it's just the way it is, but playing in your GY is a pretty safe situation at this point. So they're in a pretty good spot if they can get the rest of Druid to come up around the side. They have Zale and Ashler and the Boomkin coming around from the backside as well too here. And they're swapping past. They're looking to make a push in here, trying to get a little bit of momentum. So they're going to have to keep an eye on the rest of Shaman for now. The dive coming out by Ashley, but he actually does fall down there. Continued up, though, by the second Hunter. A bandage coming out by the Hunter there, but he's going to go down. A repick by EFC. He's going to need some more help. They have a lot of numbers and bursts coming in here. The silence going off. Another repick. He does get the repick, and they actually do get a counter return here. He's going to drop the flag, try to live. Another kill. That was crazy. They just traded flags like that. I don't know what's going on the other flag. That was a really crazy exchange there.
I am not gonna lie, I literally have no idea what just went on there. The flag was being dropped and picked up so many times, I wasn't sure what was going on. And at the end of it all, both flags got returned. So I guess it was a fair trade. But looking at the deaths on the team, GSC 18 are 3 now dead in the GY, and Team GSC Justice, I mean, they're all up and alive at this point in time. And do notice that the bottom hunter on GSC Justice got a body res there as well. So I think that was kind of unexpected there. I didn't really expect him to be able to catch a body res there and he picked that flag up there for Boomy. I just wanted to point that out there real quick, but let's have a look back at the team fight now. Indigo does go down, and Quinn's in a lot of trouble as well. Both the front liners go down at the same time on GSC A-Team. So Justice are going to be able to push deep into the clutches of A-Team and throw out them Rens, get them deep Rens out, maybe throw a Lust out onto this Warrior anytime soon. The Crusader proc coming out now from Justice Warrior, and he's looking to push further, and he charges straight into the back line onto Daniela, and Daniela goes down here as well. They're absolutely relentless with this amount of damage that's going to be coming out here, tossing out those Seder Rens. Another proc coming out. He looks like a vanilla warrior right here. The Saders procking left, right, and center, throwing out so much damage. And GSC A-Team are getting punished, and they're feeling the pain of those Rens.
Something to watch for here is you got Gobnobber on the side for GSC A-Team. He's getting double tunneled by the Hunters and the Resto Druid now. Good job by Justice blocking that Shaman from getting in on the play. He was trying to sneak off. They might even land a kill on them, which would be great in terms of blocking their GY momentum. Mage going in to try to finish the job, but he looks like he's going to get topped up just enough. Maybe they finish him off just now, and they've got Prail on the roof right now, and it looks like that Justice is going to elect to send their Resto Druid and Hunter up tunnel and send another Hunter up ramp and cut this FC. So be interesting to see how they play this out, as they are committing for the objective at this point without stacks being hit.
It is pretty interesting. Maybe they're going to have to give this cap away, maybe drop flag and go into stealth. But, you know, there's always the option of baiting the Hunter, which that's supporting the FC Resto Druid there on GSC Justice up onto the roof and then heading out down tunnel. But if you look at the position of the rest of his team, they're not going to be able to pick him up there. So they're just pushing out the GY right now. So he's not got a lot of time. He's got to make a decision in the clutch right now. But he does drop off down onto the shelf. He's not sure where he wants to go. I think he's changed his mind. He's looking to go to tunnel. The Displacer comes out and he does bug there. He's going to meet the Resto Druid and the Hunter there from GSC Justice in the tunnel. The War Stomp comes out and he does go down, and the flag gets returned, making GSC A-Team take that cap 1-2. Oh, GSC Justice take that cap.
Game isn't showing right now.
Watching through the replay of this last sequence, that's a really odd sequence to be in, where as an FC you kind of get trapped on the roof there, right? And it's a 3v1. That's a tough situation to be in as an FC, and a lot of times you have to rely on your teammates to help you out. But I think that maybe their FC could have forced that 1v1 a little longer with the Hunter coming up on a roof, but he did jump pretty early, and they had a really good trap, I would say.
Yeah, I think so too. But you can see here the Hunter from GSC Justice just holding that flag, riding that timeout now. And he does run that flag home just now, dismissing that pet there. Going to be bringing out probably his stamina-based pet at this point. I'm not sure why he dismissed his pet at that point. But hey, let's take a look at what's going on up in the team fight here now. GSC A-Team containing GSC Justice at the bottom of their GUI right now, doing a great job about that. The charge coming out onto the Indigo here. He's really deep though, and the heal's going to be able to keep him alive. It looks like they're going to be able to. Quinn's taking a significant amount of damage as well, dropping down below 40%, ever so temporarily, but he does get picks right back up. Justice pushing out the graveyard now. ESC taking a bunch of damage. The Hunter right there getting picked right back up there by one of the Discipline Priests. Has seen the penance coming out. Great job by there. He could have gone down if that hadn't come out at that point. The Indigo taking a lot of damage as well. The whole team of the GSC A-Team is rotting right now. So much damage. The big Rens coming out on Unplayable and Ashler at the same time. The Poly being spammed out now onto Gobnobber, trying to interrupt those casts. And Unplayable does go down. Maybe Livy Force is next. No, Zale has gone down. The push out the GY is real. GSC Justice have found their footing once again, and they are going to push GSC A-Team all the way back to their own GY.
That was a great push there. You saw the Mage going for an offensive block a little bit earlier too to try to get some CC off. And I feel that GSC Justice, once they ramp up a lot of pressure running that extra DPS, you can see once the other team starts losing mid in a lot of cases, it sometimes goes very quickly if they get caught out of position, and they were able to really just tunnel their healers down and were able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, they really was, and they're doing a great job with that. But I do feel like that the majority of the game it is pretty dominant by GSC team. But again, they're rocking with the 4 healer composition. They have a lot more. They're a lot more tanky essentially than GSC Justice right now. But they have to rely on the coordination of that mage CS with those polys being spammed on the Ren tick swaps, especially those Crusader Rens. That's when he really, really wants to be dumping that CS out there to guarantee that he's going to score a kill onto GSC team. And they're doing that pretty well because, again, they keep getting out of the GUI. Now it's their turn to contain GSC team at the GUI. It is quite back and forward in that sense. But I think the overall dominance is kind of like 60-40 to GSC team now. I feel like that they've had the most presence in mid for the majority, the most time, at least at this point. So let's take a look at what Prail Hugara is, the FC of GSC team, is doing. He's at the top of his graveyard now, babysitted by Indigo, Unplayable, Eclipsis, and Zale up there now. 3 stacks has hit. Well, all of those plays drop out the GUI, leaving the Resto Druid on top of the GUI temporarily for now, running across around the side of that fence. You can see the FC of GSC Justice at the back of the group now, throwing out those rejuves, just helping it out with that additional healing, and also keeping himself combated. If he does have any points in cat form available and used, he is going to be able to maintain those for any kind of situations that can emerge. But Indigo charging in there, taking a lot of damage there, getting picked right back up though. Great job by the healers. No one's going in that deep at this point, but all the front lines are kind of idle, just throwing out Rens onto each other and swapping some soft damage onto each other now. But Indigo getting 2 Rens out there onto one of the priests and one of the hunters on Team GSC Justice. But he's taking a lot of damage, getting punished for pushing in so deep there at this point. But the mage has gone down on GSC Justice. That's a great swap that came out there. Now the Resto Shaman's in so much trouble. Resto Shaman BM is taking loads and loads of damage, catching that shield there. And the other healers are desperately spamming healing, trying to keep him alive. And it looks like that the pressure is going to be relieved because the scope proc has ended there from Ashler, and he should be fine. Maybe he's going to stabilize. But as you can see, GSC team are pushing forward into GSC Justice, forcing them healers to fall backwards. And that is downtime on their heals. So potentially the fight will not be over just yet. GSC Justice might actually collapse at this point unless they manage to stabilize and get a push back into the team of GSC team.
Justice was able to land a cross kill there on their BM monk and their mages back into the team fight. So I think they'll have a little bit of an edge here. Let's see if they can get some extra push without having that slow in midfield from the BM and maybe be able to push up and train some healers. But they actually lose their BM at the same time too. This is really a back and forth match. Both of these teams are really, really solid in midfield, and you can kind of see the different styles of the 4 healer versus 3 healer coming into effect here, where if the 4 healer team can really sustain a longer fight, a lot of times they can just end up sneaking a kill and then getting momentum off of that. Whereas the 3 healer team, a lot of times gets kills in bunches, and it's a little bit more explosive. So right now it's just kind of a stalemate in midfield. Looking at Kunz kind of pushing in, getting punished a little bit here, but it looks like he's going to get topped up. Trying to push into the healers right now, but getting charged back by the warrior, he's going to lust himself in to be aggressive here, and it looks like Boomy is caught down below the FC for GSC Justice. He's trying to get a pass up, and it looks like he's let his priest know that he wants to pass up. So it looks like they're going to go for the first available pass, but that means they're going to have a priest out of the team fight if they do that. They're just trying to buy some time right now, GSC Justice, to get this flag up, as they have their priest is resing right now. They go for the pass up, but if anyone is able to charge up on this priest and connect on him, they're going to be in some serious trouble.
Yeah, the FC of GSC Justice has to be very careful right now while stealthing through this team. If he gets AoE'd out randomly, that could be very, very devastating for GSC Justice. But he's looking like that he's got past there, the Displacer out, and he's going to do the jump there. He's not seeing Zale, I don't think, and Ashler up at the top there. He does manage to pull the jump off first time, though, but he probably wants to jump back into stealth before Ashler decides to turn around and hit him, because of that priest. He's in a lot of trouble now. I think that was a scope prop that came out there from Ashler. A lot of damage should be expected to go into this priest, using that line of sight really, really well to mitigate all that outcoming damage from that hunter there. But the second hunter, Zale, is looking to get involved there as well, because Ashler has gone down, but so is Zale at this point. GSC Justice turning around and destroying both of those hunters who went overly aggressive at this stage of the game with 10 stacks there on the flag. So I think that they had very, very good reason to do so as well.
There's some good and bad there going on. So right now, you can see that Pearl Huarga had to drop the flag because EFC, one of the hunters from GSC Justice, went to contest him and he sent no one back. So GSC Justice bought themselves enough time. And it's actually going to be really interesting here, because what actually ended up being a misplay from the FC of GSC Justice falling off of the GY to get the pass ended up actually being a pass up to the top of GY, and they're just going to go in and cap this flag. So Overall, though, like that was really clutch that he landed that jump the first time up, because that would have been a really bad spot for the priest to be there alone with no DPS up top. So really good job him landing the jump and being able to kill both hunters. I think it was a little bit premature that the one hunter, I think Ashler pushed without Zale. If they would have had both hunters, I think that's a much better look for them. But maybe they felt pressured by the clock, and GSC was rewarded for being patient, and they got the second cap here. So it looks like it's going to be a 2-0 finish.
Yeah, that's how it's looking. But I just want to point out as well, both hunters from Team GSC Justice have gone back on defense at this point. I'm not sure the motive behind that. Maybe they're just thinking that they're not going to be able to get anyone on pick anytime soon, so they want to just prevent a fast cap at this point. But investing both hunters at that point whilst the team's stuck in the GUI, is that necessarily the best idea at this point? Wouldn't one hunter be sufficient enough? Who knows? Anyway, there's 30 seconds left on this game. There's not a lot that can go on. So yeah, the team is stuck in the graveyard, but so they may as well kind of try and prevent the counter cap, just to keep with some continuity of the quality of play they brought out this game. But I don't know, I kind of felt like the GSCA team was dominant a lot more in the mid-fight than GSC Justice, yet GSC Justice have took 2 flags off them. It just shows that playing the objective, it does kind of have its advantages, and like essentially it's what wins the games. But let's take a look at the scoreboard. HB, take us through the scoreboard. Let's have a look at like the damage and whatnot done in this game.
Well, to some degree, I want to say that I think the damage is reflective of the comps in an odd sense, right? Because you would think that the warrior and the boomkin from the 4 healing team would have more damage, but a lot of the time when you go against 3 healers, like people are having to sit there and play really defensive. So it doesn't surprise me that the warrior and the druid from Team GSC Justice are topping damage there, but it looks like the killing blows quite favor overall. I guess it's pretty split. I guess the pace of the game was just more in favor of A team. To me, it came down to the midfield fights for if GSC A team was able to land a healer kill, it was pretty much over. But if Team Justice was able to get enough pressure out with the mage being there, they'd snowball some kills really quickly once they killed someone.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is, really. You are right about that. I do feel that bringing that mage composition though up against the 4 healer comp, I mean, I guess you could say I'm pretty old school with the mentality of it. I just don't really agree with bringing that mage out against 4 healers. Granted, you can take 2 healers out of the game if you land that CS temporarily, but is it always enough? Is it always worth waiting on that 24-second CS to actually be able to score a kill? Yeah, you could, with a lot of coordination, pretty much say it's a guaranteed kill every 24 seconds. But again, if the mage gets swapped to and just go down, doesn't block or something, they're very, very flimsy, and it's a lot about a positional thing as well. So going up against some of these tough teams, running that 4 healer composition, it may not always be wise to run with that mage. But essentially, they still won the game with that mage. The objective game was absolutely on point. And I feel like if they continue the way that it's going, even though they're not as dominant, apparently, with this composition in the mid-fight as GSCA team, they're going to take this series. I'm pretty adamant about that. And it's what's to be expected as well from GSC Justice, that being the main team from that guild coming into this cup.
I guess that's been one of the big questions, right? It's like, which team is which, I guess. But I don't know. What do you think? Which team is which, Blackout? Give me a guess.
I don't know. I mean, I've been sworn to secrecy. I know the people play. I know all the players behind the rosters. I have a list of names, so I know who is who. So maybe I'll give them some secrets
away. Maybe it comes back
Alright.
to this too, where we kind of get this. I think at 19s at times we kind of get this opinion. I think everyone does it at points too, where we kind of form ideas about players and their names, right? Like you see someone's name and it's representative of who they are, which sounds really, well, of course, like no shit. But at the same time, right? If you actually take away the name and you take away who's playing, and if you don't know who's playing, at the end of the day, it really reverts back to, well, are you playing the game? Because a lot of times you can look at a team and be like, oh, okay, I know that this is these players, like I know what they're doing and whatnot, but I guess you're kind of thrown for a mix for both of these teams because people are in they're in the gray area. They don't really know what's going on. I can tell you that I think these two teams are 2 of the best midfield teams in the tournament, and I think that they've already been tested. They've been tested objectively so far in their games played so far. I honestly think that this series could go either way. I think it was like You know what I mean by that? Like where the reason why I said that whole thing in the first place was that I feel that a lot of people are favoriting GSC Justice, I guess, as one of the favorites. But I mean, in that entire game, GSC A team was just farming them for the majority of the game. It was just that they weren't able to capitalize on their objective looks. Like, for example, that last push that they had there, they sent the one hunter up, and then the second hunter didn't connect in time. They didn't go in together. So. I don't know. I could see the series going either way, actually.
Well, it definitely can go either way because both teams are extremely competent teams and they know how to hold their own. But at the same time, he was talking about that, like, I can't even say the word. I'm basically trying to say I don't even know the word. I've forgotten the word now. What I'm basically trying to say is that everyone. Like as a viewer, for example, or you or I, well, not necessarily you or I, but anyone else, they're looking at these people, they don't know exactly who they are. But bear in mind, because these are the same field, everyone knows who everyone is and what's playing what. So regardless of the names of the characters, they know who's going to be playing behind that character. So this is where those kind of mind games don't actually come into play in a game like this, because it is that in-house guild composition. So, you just have to think, well, if you're playing on one team, I know who's playing the hunter on their team, so I know his play style, so I know what to expect from him, kind of thing, which is what you get in a normal game. Like, for example, if you play up against skill ratio, you go up against Argent Grizzle, you know the kind of stuff that he does when you've played against him a lot, for example. But, you don't really get that with GSC if you're any other team. But in this specific composition, this matchup, that each team knows who the players are on the other team. So I don't think there's any kind of advantage being brought to either of the teams by that. Whereas they kind of have a little bit of an edge, one could say, over other teams, when they're facing against other teams. At least the Justice teams, because those are the guys with the crazy names, with all the class names and whatnot. But nevertheless, I do think that GSC Justice, so far from what we've seen, their objective play is on point. I mean, it's pretty much flawless. They're moving at the right times. They're moving fast enough across the map. They're executing the objectives really, really well. They're cutting very well. The timings are perfect. Because what I do want to point out as well is there was a time where the FC for GSC A team was up on the roof. Then you had the FC and the hunter from GSC Justice at the bottom of the tunnel, and they could have just run up tunnel there, but no, they didn't. You can tell that this had been practiced because they waited for the other hunter to start walking up the ramp before they started moving up the tunnel. So you can tell they've actually figured out the timings on the map so that they can all collapse into a certain point to trap them in the clutch in a specific place, depending on which route they take. They really, really calculated that pretty well, and it was executed very well. Granted that the FC did kind of commit to going out shelf towards ramp, but then changed his mind and went down tunnel, meeting the hunter and the FC from GSC Justice in the tunnel, which is what gave them the first cap. But at the same time, you can tell these kind of plays are very, very rehearsed. So this team have come in here very, very prepared. And as I was saying earlier in previous games, GSC A team, I don't know how much they've actually played together. So, it's very evident to see that GSC Justice, they are very, very organized.
We're just trying to get the queue right so we can get both factions here in the right team, and I'm getting word from some members of GSC right now, and they just would like to correct me on how we're pronouncing their team name, apparently, and apparently it's not GSC A team, it's GSC a team. So, okay, thank you for that.
Well, what they have to realize is that they have got very, very, very bad grammatical errors when signing up their team, because if they had a non-capital A, it would be pronounced a team. But when they signed up with it as a capital A team, that is a team. Thus, meaning they aren't correcting us, we have now corrected them.
Slam dunked. They can't have their way.
Correct. They cannot have their way. It's GSC A team.
I think that I don't know how the second game is going to go.
I think the GSC A team, JK A team, are actually going to be able to pull a game out of this series. Now, I think that they have seen how effective this Justice is going to be, and they've kind of seen the composition they're going to be running as well. Whilst they've been trying to queue up into games, you guys on the stream haven't actually gotten to see this, but when they're entering the games, they're seeing a slight change of composition coming out of GSC Justice. So they do know, and they are going to be prepared as to what is going to happen or what's expected to happen up in this up-and-coming game. But I do think that GSC A team are going to do a great job really adapting.
Now it's in your
to
head,
this
though,
situation.
right? Is it a team?
It is in my head now, but I'm not going to let it beat
team,
me.
From what they told me.
It will not defeat me. It's not going to defeat me.
But it goes back. You see, it goes back to what we were talking about, right? Like if you don't see, because this is something that was said earlier in the broadcast, is that a lot of people were looking at GSC. A team, whatever you have it. They were looking at them and saying like, oh, wow, this team's kind of come up from nowhere. I don't recognize a lot of these players, or some of these players haven't played Warsong in a while. Like specifically, I think people were talking about Living Force and that he hadn't played in quite some time. I'm not sure if I have to drop the queue here, but I think so. It didn't go through. But with that being said, I would say that these two teams are probably two of the most practiced in the tournament. And where people had the assumption because of names that this team is not practiced, it's quite the opposite. And I think that it's going to... I think Muskie maybe had him as their dark horse. No. He said starter, right? And then starter ended up playing the A team or whatever, and they ended up... I think he ended up changing his dark horse or something like that, because... Yeah, I'm excited to see how the rest of the series pans out after we can actually get the teams on the same faction. We're playing the faction game again, as we were earlier today, which is it's too bad that you can't just move teams on each faction, because they've done a lot of great things in terms of the functionability of the add-on, but that might even be on the Blizzard UI side of it. I don't know. I'm a pretty stupid tech person when it comes to it, I'll be honest with you, but I just want to play some Warsong. You feel me, chat? PogChamp in the chat if you feel me.
I completely feel you. I just want to get in there and see what's going to happen in these next up-and-coming games. But when you was talking about Muskie then and having two dark horses in the tournament, Muskie, every team to him is pretty much a dark horse. Out of 6 teams, he's got 2 dark horses. Like, a third of the teams are dark horses, definitely. Very indecisive kind of guy when he wants to be. He can't make his decision. He changes his mind very, very easily, but he makes out he's decisive with his decisions. But then if one variable comes into it, he's completely changed his mind and he's super decisive about that. That is Muskie Bad right there for you guys. And you will probably notice that now I've pointed that out. Next time you see him cast, or especially the teammates that are playing alongside him in Ozyman Dies with me as well, they can definitely agree with what I'm saying. But anyway,
he's a goof. I love the guy. He's one of my favorite people that play 19. Shout out to Muskie Bad.
Yeah, big love to Muskie Bad. Hearts in the chat, yo. I don't know why that we've not got an extra queue going on yet. Is there some reason for this? Is someone like taking a relog or something? Are we going into some technical time here? What's going on?
It looks like the queues have kind of just been bugging out from both sides, and it looks like it's just been going through, but it hasn't really been resignating for whatever reason. So. Oh,
I know what's going on here. It's with the add-on. When you queue up and it fails and you leave the queue, sometimes if you re-queue and it doesn't work or something like that, you have to wait 90 seconds at some point for it to internally reset. And there it is. The queue has come out, but it might have bugged again. I'm not sure. Apparently, I'm getting word that people from GSC A team are just kind of messing up, and that's causing the add-on to bug out a little bit. But we should be getting to these games really soon anyway. It's not anything difficult for us to fix behind the scenes with our tech guys there on it, and they know what they're doing. They're absolutely crazy hard at this kind of stuff. Much love for those guys.
The last night and today, the last night stream, the arena tournament, I'll tell you this. I think the arena tournament rules were awesome. It was a lot of fun playing in it yesterday. From a player perspective, it was really fun playing in it, which was something that was not as fun about last year. But I also think from a viewer standpoint, like, it was a lot better as well too. And that tournament went way longer than I think I personally expected or other people expected. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone on the staff last night that hung in there and made sure the games could go through, because that was a lot of fun. And the interviews afterwards as well too. It was great. And I think it's continuing over today. We're having a great broadcast with a lot of different people getting involved. It's nice to see. It's nice to see the love going around. Hearts in chat. We love all twinks. Give everyone a hug.
Yeah, I kind of agree. You know, I'm one of the key staff members as well involved with this project. But there is a lot that goes into it, and because I spend the majority of my time casting, you know, you do have people that you don't get to see like behind the scenes, like Conk, like Lyndon Cron, and some of the other guys as well that are in part of are part of the committee. They are like busting their guts to kind of make this circulate and go down to the best that it can, as fluid as possible. But there are some things that are going to be out of our control. Things like this, where teams aren't ready for whatever reason or not, or whatever, or any technical bugs with add-ons or anything that's completely out of our hands, you know, because we didn't program these add-ons ourselves. So, you know, it's kind of a bit of a vague add-on, the one that we use, but it's the best that we've got, so we have to work with it. But yeah, a big shout out to everyone to actually make this thing happen. The community has really, really come together for the Twink Cup this year. I'm really pleased about it thus far, at least. I'm super hyped.
I got like an interview question for you. Sorry to turn the tables, but I'm gonna turn the tables. I know you don't. I don't know you. I know you don't play pugs that much. Not a huge pug guy. I don't even think you're subbed on US half the time, right? But with that being said, you played on EU, and I was over there playing on EU as well too. I think that one thing that on US, where it's been really good in terms of like this last year and the past expansion, really for the sake of it, has been great in terms of pre-made progression. But I feel like it's gotten to a point right now where teams have been so locked in for the last month on doing pre-mades, everyone's horde, that it's actually really slowed some things down outside of pre-mades. I don't know if you've like really caught the tail end of that or not, but I'm really curious to see what happens after the Twin Cup. Not only in regards to like Legion coming up and the changes and whatnot, but in terms of what's going to happen in the community. I think that there's going to be, I don't know. It's like it's one of those like big events where there's always big changes afterwards. So I'm interested to see what happens afterwards, because I think the pace of things been really dedicated on making sure that, you know, everyone's focused for the Twin Cup. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like everyone's been going really trying this year.
Yeah. I kind of agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I want to just kind of take up on the point of what's going to happen after the Twin Cup. I don't know. I mean, there's going to be more people that probably disagree with me than agree with me, but I do believe that some people, they're not as wise as others, and they don't really see the great, you know, far into the future and how things can actually impact a community like this. But I do feel like that after the Twin Cup, with Legion up and coming, it's going to be very, very dependent on the quality of the pugs, because it could go one or two ways. It could go like super, super great, and, you know, loads of people queuing five-mans and whatnot, and the level of pugs is, you know, it's pretty good because you're queuing it into other five-mans and whatnot, and then these regular pre-mades. Or it could go to the very, very, I guess it's feared by the majority of the community, whereby people will progressively start dropping off because the quality of pugs has decreased, and if war games aren't very regular, they'll be like, kind of, what's the point? And they'll drop off the mat, and the whole playstyle will become lost and forgotten. That's like the worst case scenario. But I do feel like the effort from the whole community has to be put in to maintain the playstyle going into Legion. So, you know, the NWL is going to be a big part of that, trying to host and advertise and broadcast these games that come out, the war games that do go out early on in Legion, and really like deciding and defining the meta as well. That's going to be a big thing. It's the way that we interpret it as a community, you know, because there's a lot of things that have changed, and you know, I think that it can have like a big impact on the direction of the front. Sorry, I've just got the broadcaster screaming down me, and I can't even concentrate on my own words. Can you please stop that? But yeah, what he's trying to basically say to me is that we need to explain what's going on. And what's going on is we've queued up about 12 times now into Warsong Gulch. We've gone in, and every single time the teams have had the wrong spawn point. So we've had to keep leave, requeue, and it's getting super, super tedious. So yeah, that's what we're waiting for, guys. So we're all ready. Yeah.
We all want to get a game played here.
Give us your energy, please. It has to happen. It's a 1 in 2 chance, and again, it has failed out, and all the teams do leave again.
I'm glad I'm not at Vegas right now, you know? I'm chilling, dude. Didn't bet on Reds, you know? Life's hard. I think that for me, from what I haven't looked at Legion at all, really. I don't know, but I've heard really good things about casters specifically. So I'd be really interested to see if things go back to a caster meta. But with that being said too, I'm curious what caster meta would look like after the knowledge of the last few expansions. Where teams have where I think the last time we saw like a really true caster meta, it was when teams were playing in Cataclysm with like mages having a lot of damage. Affliction locks being pretty good at the end of the expansion. I guess Mop was kind of caster based as well too, but it took on a little bit more melee form when you used BM monks.
Was in Mop where the Ellies could run when casting, right? That was in Mop. I don't think that was Cata.
Yeah.
Or was that Cata as well?
No, just Mop.
It was just in Mop. Yeah, that was I remember that being a very, very, very caster-based expansion because so many people was queuing up on Ellies, at least in the Pug games on the Pug scene. It was so annoying. Me playing a Rogue as well as my main jam. Very, very infuriating.
Holy PogChamp team. We're on the right side, I think. PogChamp in the chat. After like 20 tries and some resident sleepers, we are now ready to pwn. So get your buckles on, get your popcorn. You got it in the microwave. It's time to start eating. I'm excited.
We have a bit of a problem here, guys. I just need to say I thought that it was on the wrong side and I kind of left the game.
Okay, well, I guess we will we might have to leave.
I think we have to. Unfortunately. That is my bad, guys. I've never done.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't realize. I just looked and I got that wrong. I'm super sorry about that. We're gonna have to get these teams to leave. I'm just gonna send out a couple whispers.
Life is hard. Feels bad, man, in the chat. But it's
I don't know.
Now
Feels bad, man.
It's okay.
Yeah, the next game. Now we've got him once. We're just gonna keep getting the right spawns, though. I mean, it always happens this way. It really does. So don't worry about it. Next game, we'll get in and we'll get straight on into the thick of this. But let's get a little bit back on topic. I feel like we strayed a little bit here. Okay, so we've got GSC Justice. We've got GSC A team. Now, your opinion is, well, you had a mixed opinion, like in the last discussion we had. You said that it could go either way, but then you're talking about one team excelling and one team not, performing as well as they could. And I personally think that the A team is going to take a game this time round. How do you feel about that?
I think that honestly, I think that the A team were in some positions that last game where they could have capitalized a little bit more if they had quicker rotations. Because I think that when they were breaking Justice in mid, it was pretty quickly. There was maybe one or two fights where they killed one person on Justice and ended up like sustaining, but I think a lot of the time they ended up wiping them pretty quickly. So if they can rotate around a little bit quicker objectively and maybe give themselves a little bit of an edge there, they might be able to take the second game. I also noticed just while we are queuing in here that the Justice is running a different comp than they were running in the first games. They're running with a Warlock. So they're going for a different look this game. Maybe they didn't like the Mage. Maybe they just wanted to mix it up. But they are running a Warlock. And the difference for me, I know you were saying this earlier, where I know a lot of people don't like running a Mage against 4 healers. I love running a Mage against 4 healers. It doesn't matter to me. It's a different look. If you run a Mage into 4 healers, it's more sustained pressure. Whereas if you run a Warlock into 4 healers, it's more burst. So like the difference between the two is that the Warlock punishes your front line, where the Mage can punish your front line, but it can also punish your healers as well too, and not just with CC, but the actual mobility to be able to hit the healers. Because a lot of the times, I think is something people don't take into account is a lot of times when a Warlock is positioned as, not being able to move everywhere. Oh, I got to switch the team names, by the way. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, when a Warlock is positioned in the back, a lot of times the targets that are available are only the front line, whereas like a Mage, you have a lot of mobility if you're playing with Blazing Speed, which is like my preferred talent if I'm playing Mage. So you have access to hit pretty much anyone on the field if you want to, aggressively or defensively.
Yeah, it is true, but there are in some positions whereby the Warlock can be at the back of the squad and still kind of hit the midline as well. It's very, very rare that they've managed to connect on the back line. But at the end of the day, if you manage to get down one of those front liners, at least, especially early on into the game, but at any point, it's always crucial for scoring a whole team wipe on the enemy team. Now, lining up those Crusader Wrens with a Chaos Bolt and a Boomkin Star Surge, that can inflict a lot of damage onto a front liner. So even though they can only hit the frontliners, you don't have to. Well, I'm not saying you was, but some people think about it like, oh well, it's just kind of wasted just dumping damage into the frontliners because they're so tanky. But it's not necessarily true. Bringing out that huge damage from the destruction warlocks onto those frontliners can catch a whole team of healers off guard and just 100-0 them, and essentially win a team fight just from that.
Yeah, Warlock's very explosive. Mage is right. It's just the nature of the class, I think. Like. I don't know. You kind of prefer you take your look, but I think that the point that I was getting at is I think that it's I think Mage is heavily overlooked in terms of it's just a different look, but I don't think people recognize that. I think there's a lot of people in 19s that just look at a comp and they're like, oh, okay, well this is what that comp does. I know, but a lot of the times, like, hey. I mean, you're one of the teams today that ran that comp today with double Druid Frost Mage, so
that composition was brewing for like a year. Oh my god, we've been brewing that comp for a year and kept it so quiet. But we didn't get any time to actually practice it because we thought if we practiced it, other people would know about it. You know what I mean? So we kind of went in there just in theory crafting it, and I think we kind of did a good job. Even though
it was a fun game to watch. I enjoyed that one a lot.
It was for sure, but the team fight has begun. The Warrior from GSC Justice charging deep in there, taking a lot of damage though. Quins from GSC 18 taking a lot of damage. Well, Indigo charging deep in there, connecting on the Boomkin, doing so much damage there, throwing out those Crusader Wrens onto the whole team there. Gonna throw a Rend out onto the Shaman and onto the Discipline Priest there. The GSC A team are making that push. They are absolutely relentless right now. Eclipse is coming out with that wild charge onto the Resto Shaman. Huge swap coming out there onto the Boomkin tree. He does get instantly picked right back up to 100%. All the healers on the ball there on GSC Justice, but it does look like GSC Justice are falling backwards, leaving their Warrior deep into the depths of GSC A team with those Rens coming out. If he gets a Crusader proc as they all tick out, it could be the end of GSC A team. This could be really, really bad. As you can see, the whole backline now dotted up on GSC A team. When these Rens stick out, a good swap could come out. The frontliners now pushing it a little bit deep. The charge coming out there onto Ashler. The disengage does come up there, but those Rens seemingly did nothing at that point. No Crusaders came out there on the Warrior called Priest, but it does look like they managed to get a kill onto Yindi, and Quincy's about to go down here as well. Maybe he does go down, so it looks like GSC Justice again has taken this initial team fight.
The thing that I liked about the initial team fight is what you pointed out. And then, unfortunately, the Warrior didn't really get the damage out that he needed with the Crusader, but he was a huge harassment, and it ended up helping them get that kill on Yindi on a swap back, a great purge into an execute, and it got them it got that first kill for them to really snowball that entire fight. I'm really curious to see what GSC A team and GSC Justice are going to figure to do here, with GSC Justice having control of midfield and A team coming off pretty much a full team chain wipe, as they're picking someone off in the back right now. It's going to be, I'm curious to see what the teams are going to do with low stacks, and if they're, it looks like, let's see right now, checking over at Prail, he's got a Hunter and a Resto Shaman with him right now, so they're going to need to send 3 or 4 people up if they do want to split, but maybe they elect to go full team. The Hunter jumped off, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle this situation.
Indeed, I don't know whether it's a good idea having Gobnobber up there right now, because the no hunters are being committed round and it is pretty low on stacks, and I don't think that GSC A team are going to be able to win this fight pushing out the GUI without all the healers there. Zale in the tunnel having a 1v1 against EFC, the hunter from GSC Justice, and he does manage to he does actually go down at that point. Unfortunately, the body loop coming out there. The hunter EFC, the top hunter on GSC Justice, bandaging up right now. He's going to be looking to go round to get to the back of Prail, which is the FC for GSC A team. Is there anyone else that's going to be there to open up on it? Let's take a look there. Eclipse does get a leap up though, so he's not in a great spot right now, but do notice the other hunter and the Resto Shaman called BM is going around the rampway, so they're going to look for an opportunity to open up onto Prail here at the top. Both hunters from GSC A team are down in the graveyard though to send up some counter fire. But yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to happen next.
I think the Shaman from GSC Justice, or excuse me, GSC A team fell asleep and the Boomkin died right next to him to a last stick of rent. Just sitting there for like 5 seconds. That was one of the most trolly things I've ever seen in 19 pre-made. He just died over like 5 seconds.
Wow.
not good. And right now they're pushing right now too, so that's unfortunate. But he does come off that res right now. Scope proc coming out, but right now you got like a 3v3 up top with the rest of Shaman and the 2 hunters. Going in for a triple silence on everyone up there. And the 5-bite coming in from Hunter down below. The Druid from GSC Justice sneaking up. Great look there on the FC with the Torrent into the 5-bite from down below. You can get so much pressure at times from having people on both sides of the play.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great coordination there. They did a great countdown into that. The disengage in there to that blanket silence, locking out the Boomkin, the FC from GSC 18 there to prevent that Displacer Beast from coming out. That big bite finished him off. It looked like it was a crit because that was 51% to 0 HP in one global. The stacks was riding around 6. So it does seem like that was probably a critical bite. So really well played. They probably would have gone down nonetheless. But having a look at the Hunter now on GSC Justice, the bottom Hunter with pretty much no HP left, catching that bandage up onto himself now. He's going to be looking to get a pick on this next flag. No, sorry, he's yes, he's going to get a pick because the other hunter, sorry, it's so confusing with these teams having the same names on these hunters. One hunter, the top hunter, has just capped the flag, and the bottom hunter is going to get ready and in position to run this next flag across. Well, let's take a look now straight back into the team fight. I'm having a look at the rest of Shan BM right now. He's way out of position from his team here. He's got to run through the whole of GSC 18 without dying here. If they just turn around and maybe could score a kill, and that would have a snowball effect on the rest of the team. He's taking a lot of damage now, but he does catch the power shield there from the priest called Shaman. The penance comes down. It looks like he's going to be saved by that. Yindi pushing him really far there, throwing out those Rens onto a couple. He's taking a lot of damage though, but he does go down. Fantastic swap that went out onto there. The damage that followed was great. Zale, 4% HP. He drops down there as well, but the Hunter EFC, he's in a fair bit of trouble here. He's being contested by the Hunter. Ashler, Boomy, the FC for the real FC for GSC Justice, desperately trying to heal through all that damage there, and it looks like they're going to do a great job with that. But Ashler's receiving enough heals there himself as well to remain at high enough HP to continue to assert that pressure.
You know, one thing that got that momentum going for GSC Justice there in midfield was initially EFC, one of the hunters, came in and silenced both priests, and that helped them unlock that kill there on Yindigo. If it was the secret key to the door to find a kill in midfield, it was a great silence there on 2 priests, taking them out of the play. And right now, it looks like GSC Justice should still be able to get some momentum here, as A-Team has 3 healing, so if the mage can find a way to get some pressure and harass their healers, they do land another kill onto Eclipsis. Look for this to snowball really quickly.
It is going to look to snowball really quickly, with them being 1 Resto Shaman and 1 Boomkin down there as well. The frontliners are still staying deep on GSC 18. They're throwing out the damage onto the backline of GSC Justice. I don't know if it's a wise idea right now. I think that Quinn should be spamming them barrels, and it looks like the Quinn's are going to go down. He should have been desperately trying to throw out barrels as much as possible to give his team a chance of getting away and breaking off. Unplayable did catch the res. He's running into his own team, trying to help pick up some of those remaining members, but he might cause his own life here, as well as Hunter. The Boom Kid gets a wild charge in there, and the whole team of GSC Justice unloads all that damage into him. And again, he's going to go down. He traded his life there completely unnecessarily. But take a look at what's going on here now. The whole of GSC Justice, they are not hesitating. They know what they're going to do next. The whole team are looking to head up the rampway. The reason for this is to prevent the GSC 18 regrouping in the GUI and having a terrain advantage over them. They want them to drop out of that graveyard so they can have a fight again down at the bottom on a level playing field. But you can see Prail, the FC for GSC 18, he's displaced all the way across the field. It looks like they're going to maybe try and pull out a base-to-base strategy right now, HB. I know this is something that you kind of like to play. So why don't you talk us through what could potentially happen from this point?
Well, what happens there is it looks like GSC Justice wasn't comfortable with the amount of people that were up top for A-Team. So they forced the FC to jump down and make a decision, taking the team fight here. But they've got to be kind of careful. If GSC A-Team can stall this fight out, they might be able to get some momentum being in their own GY, but they are down the BM Monk immediately. If they can kill one of the healers from Justice, they actually might be able to just snowball this fight. It's really quite a cluster in mid right now. Racial's going out into the back line of GSC A-Team, trying to help them find another kill into Gobnobber, who gets topped barely. Yindi at 52 health, getting picked up, charge into him. The Execute coming out, but the BM Monk catching a res. Eclipsis at 1/3 health, trying to get topped up. He does manage to do it, and right now it's a little bit of a stalemate in GSC A-Team's GY.
One could say it's a stalemate, but at the same time, look at the positions. It looks like GSC A-Team are the aggressors. They're pushing deeper and deeper into GSC Justice, forcing them to walk backwards, which is making Prail notice that the Hunter from GSC Justice, the top Hunter, going to take that Zerker now, looking to try and cut and maybe even open up some damage onto the FC of GSC A-Team. But GSC A-Team, they are pushing out of the graveyard. They know that they've got to win this fight. They've got to win it soon, or their FC is going to be in a lot of trouble. He's got so many stacks, 7 stacks available. He did drop the flag there, and the Hunter has gone back, though, to contest him on the potential repick. So GSC 18 desperately needs to be scoring a whole team wipe here so that they can be in position to actually make something of this. But it looks like that they might have to give this cap away, actually, HP. Look at the position of the FC there from GSC Justice at the bottom of the tunnel. He can run this flag home. Yes, there is the Resto Druid up on roof. And he doesn't know exactly where that Resto Druid is going to be, so he could be fearful of getting opened up on a 1v1 scenario by him. But at the same time, the Hunter EFC is there back on defense as well, but he has now come out down the tunnel, and Prail has picked this flag up. EFC heading straight back up the tunnel, looking to contest Prail as he comes out towards the ramp.
I was really surprised what happened there in midfield. They actually were able to land a kill onto the Shaman from GSC Justice. But a great objective awareness by the Hunter for GSC Justice. Killing Zale really took a lot of pressure off of Boomy from being able to have to worry about objective control. And they actually got back into the midfield fight because of that kill on the Hunter, strangely enough, just because of how it played out. Prail displacing into his team. Silence coming on the Shaman. They're looking for a full dive at this point. Second Silence. A lot of damage going to Prail. He's at 800 health. They actually kill him. Repick by Unplayable. Boomy's taking pressure as well, too. Eclipse is opening. If they kill this Boomkin, they might be able to continue the pressure. Another repick by Zale, getting the bubble topped off in the back of his group. The Shaman just purging everything right now. He just got to keep his team top. They do get the return. Great contest there by GSC Justice, sustaining that push. GG, well played.
That was a really, really great push, and it was just relentless repicks there by GSC 18, but it just wasn't enough because when Zale caught that disengage, it was great to mitigate the incoming damage, but the only plays that was going to connect on him was going to be the GSC Justice people. He had no one available for another repick. That many people had died, though, through repicks. It was just a matter of time before it ran out of people available left to be able to get those repicks, and essentially that's allowed Boomy to run this flag home for GSC Justice, making this 2-0 with 8.5 minutes left on the clock. So HP, let's have a quick think about this now. A GSC A team, the 2 caps down, 8.5 minutes on the clock. Do you think they should continue with the current kind of play style that they're actually playing by trying to contest mid completely, or do you think they maybe should focus on a little bit of an alternative strategy at this point?
I mean, with the time down and where the game is already, with the other team having a flag pick already, yeah, you kind of do have to like contest at midfield and your objective players. Maybe you break a Shaman or something like that, but you've got to keep a body in midfield so that it's not free crosses for the enemy team at this point. But you got to try to find some way to get an edge, and maybe it's breaking off a Shaman to help off an objective if it's necessary. But I think the midfield control is really important at this point.
Yeah, it definitely is. It is always important. But look at this absolute cluster going on here. Daniela dipping down to 3%, managing to survive. The whole team of GSC A team are so low. Ashler has gone down. Big shield coming out to Eclipses, and it wasn't even an AGM invested there. Insane crit shield. Yindigo goes down there now as well. So that's 2 players down for GSC A team, and it's not looking good for them. Zale closely behind, following on the death register there. Ashler managing to get a body res though, which is really fortunate. Quinn's desperately trying to hold that front line there. His health is spiking up and down so much. The warrior called Priest on GSC Justice throwing out them Rens onto Godnobber, onto Quinn's, and the last cap gets ran home, and that is it. That's a 3-0 sweep to GSC Justice in this last game, making that 2-0 on the series, meaning GSC Justice has taken this whole series.
Yeah, that was a quick 2-0. I was a little bit surprised of how quickly Justice transitioned that last cap, and I think that got him a lot of momentum. So it was a good second cap, good push by their hunters at ramp, sustaining the pressure. It was a really good kill as well too. They lined their silences and their racials up very well to land that initial kill on the Druid, and then they were able to chain wipe them. But they also didn't wait, and they knew that they could snowball another cap, and they were able to